Tank is a big loss. Tank is our emotional leader on defense. He comes to practice. He works hard every day. He plays with a lot of enthusiasm, and that's contagious. And we're going to miss that. We're going to miss his leadership, and that's a big part of it. We have Hassan Ridgeway, who was backing up Malcolm. Now he has to go to nose. As far as the physical presence, I think we'll be good there. But as far as the excitement, the enthusiasm, the emotional leader, you can't replace that. Paul Boyd, a young man out of Humboldt, Texas, he's also playing in there. So we're going to rotate those two guys at nose guard and see what happens. And there's no doubt in our mind as a defensive staff, those guys will do a great job for us.
Vance, last week with the bye week, what did you, I know obviously fundamentals and things like that are stuff to key in on, but what did you take last week to really hone in on?
Number one, get them healthy. That's the best thing about it. Sit back to evaluate where we are as a defense. Go back to doing a lot of fundamental drills. We have more individual time than we normally have, just teaching those guys, again, how to get in the stance, how to get off a block, working on getting a football position, work on tackling, just the simple things of the game of football. Football 101 is what we went back to this past week.
Charlie was saying on Monday that when you go on the road, you really got to pack in your defense, and made it sound like defense is almost even more critical in road games than in home games. Is that kind of the way you approach it as well?
It is, because you need to take the crowd out of the game. How do you do that? If you can slow down their offense and you get some with 3 and outs or maybe takeaways, then their fans get quiet. And it's interesting that we're their homecoming game, which I go back to my high school days when you're a homecoming opponent. That means I don't respect you very much. I don't know if that was Kansas trying to say to us or not. So I think it's very important that we do pack our defense. I expect a sellout crowd because it is their homecoming. And we can contain their offense, contain their quarterback. We can take the crowd out of the game.
Vance, all the coaches have been talking about just senior leadership, things like that. And you talked about said before, but just all the seniors. Are y'all expecting more out of all these guys going forward, pushing out a conference play?
You really do, because the game starts there. If you have a solid foundation, which is your seniors, it's like if you build a house. You don't start from the roof. You start from the bottom. And that's our seniors. That's the core of this football team on offense, defense, and special teams. When they're playing well and they're leading the right way, it's a good chance you will have success on the football field. And those guys need to even play better than what they're playing. And again, I have to go back to we're going to miss Tank. I think he was a big part of who we are and the direction we're trying to go to right now. So Sept needs to take that role as far as being an emotional guy. He's a very quiet young man. He's a class act. He really is. He does a tremendous job in a lot of ways. But we need his emotional leadership at this time. And Jordan Hicks is another guy who's lead by example, and he's starting to take a vocal role on this football team, which he needs to be able to do. Steve Edmonds is another young man who's also a senior. He's played a lot of football around here. We need for him to grow up and step up and be a leader emotionally. Those guys, they do a good job in practice, and they run to the ball on game day, but now we need those guys to lead some of these young guys on the football team.
And is Roberson looking like a guy who might be able to play this year? Is he more of a redshirt candidate?
Right now, it's a long season. It's a long season. It's hard to say that at this time whether he's a redshirt guy or he's going to play. Just have to wait and see how the season goes.
Coach, you guys had to obviously dismiss another player yesterday. When you're out recruiting, are kids asking you about the level of discipline here, and are other schools using that against you guys?
Well, the first thing I have to disagree with you said we dismiss somebody. Let's say that you have a job and you late every day. What do you think is going to happen to you?
First, initially, or eventually?
Initially, they're going to do what?
Initially, they're probably write you up.
And then what?
Then it depends on how it outlined. But if you continue, then you probably get fired.
So, did you get yourself fired, or did they fire you?
You fired yourself.
Thank you. Now, the next thing is, for a parent, you hope that you go to a place where they have values like you have at home. If you have a son or a daughter and you say come in at 10 o'clock and they don't, what are you going to do?
Just a conversation.
It's a conversation anybody sit out there right now. What are you going to do? If you have a son or daughter, you say be home at 10 o'clock, what are you going to do? And they show up at 11.
Well, first I'm going to ask them what happened.
Okay, then the next week the same thing happens.
Well, as long as it wasn't a car wreck, then I would probably start the discipline.
What's the difference from what any coach would do if those situations occur. There's none whatsoever. As a parent, you hope that you have a head football coach that is doing everything they can to help your son or daughter develop into a class person. So once they leave this university, any other university, they go out in the real world and know how to carry themselves as young men and young women. And our responsibility to families is this. We want to be an extension of what you have started. We want to develop them and be able to go out and carry on a conversation. When and if they get their degrees from the University of Texas, they're able to go out there and interview, do a tremendous job, and represent their families and this university in a first-class way. So from the standpoint, you're saying that Coach Strong dismissed somebody, as you just said, if you were late several times, you've been called in, basically you dismiss yourself because of the things that you've done. And through all of this, as you try to help young people out, sooner or later you have to do something and say, enough is enough.
So are recruits asking you about this?
I hope they do, because I tell them the truth. This is a place that we want to help you grow and develop, be successful, not just on the football field, but off the football field. So when you leave the University of Texas, you're able to go out in the real world and deal with people, because we want to prepare you for that. Part of our jobs, part of our responsibilities are to do those type of things, to develop people that go out there and maybe be sitting out there one day asking questions, or maybe running for office, maybe be a policeman, maybe be a fireman. That's our responsibility to these people. Because right now, if you look across this country, there are issues all over this country, not just here at the University of Texas. People think, well, that's the only school in the country that have problems. Really? Let's go do some research. We just have a coach that's sitting back trying to develop young people to be the best that they can be. And that's what our responsibilities are to anyone out there who comes here. Are we going to have discipline? Yes, just like you have at home. Hopefully you have that at home. And that's what parents are looking for a coach, a coaching staff, a university to help develop their sons and daughters to be the best that they can be. Because also, if you have a child and they go out with the wrong people, would you be happy? Why not?
Because anything can happen when you're around the wrong crowd.
So at the end of the day, as we go out and recruit, and we ask the hard questions to counselors, to teachers, to parents, we want to bring the right people here to the University of Texas. That's what we want to do, surround them with the right people. But if you have a quality person and you surround them with the wrong people, you hope that they can stand the test and do the right thing, but sometimes they don't. So part of our research is to do that. You know, I coached in the NFL for 6 years. We spent a lot of money looking at first and second round picks, from private investigators to FBI, to find out who they are, what they're doing. And they still make mistakes. So who we are as college coaches across this country don't have the money, the time to spend the NFL does. What do you think is going to happen?
Vance, to follow on Anwar's question earlier, are you hearing that people are using this as a negative against you?
I hope they do, because I think it's a positive. Because if someone's using a negative against us, if we talk to parents, I just go in there, really. So it's okay for you in your home to let your son do whatever he wants to do whenever they want to do it. And they're going to say, well, no. Well, what's the difference? What's the difference? None whatsoever. We want to make people do things the right way. We talk about core values. You go to somebody's home, you want to tell me that you want to tell your son or daughter not to be honest? You're going to tell your son or daughter it's okay to steal? You're going to say it's okay to use drugs? You're going to say if you have a son, it's okay to hit a female? So that's okay if they're in your home? I don't think so. So we're not doing anything different than from what a parent is doing in their own home. So what's wrong with that? I want someone out there to tell me what's wrong with that. Apparently something must be wrong with us being like parents, because I'm getting that question. So what's wrong? Who got an answer? Who got a question about what's wrong with that if you have kids? Nobody said anything.
Well, I think the main thing is, Vance, I think is that, as you know, it's great to have core values and raising kids and all that stuff is great. But you know, the people who sit in Section 400, they want to see wins.
There's no doubt about
they
that.
want to see about good character and all.
But guess what we as coaches want to see?
You want to see both.
Exactly. We want to see wins too. But in today's society, how much are you willing to sacrifice? And I know the person at 400 don't see things that way. They're going to sit back, well, for the last 16 years we had X amount of wins. All that's great. And Coach Brown did a tremendous job here. And right now you have a new head coach. And then people say, well, he's trying to change the culture. I wish I knew exactly what that meant. So at Louisville, we forced kids to do things the right way. They grew up. They started graduating and able to go out in the real world. It took time. And I know at the University of Texas, time is not on our side. I'm a graduate of the University of Texas. I've written letters to, is Kirk Bowl out there? Kirk Bowl, I've written a letter to him supporting Mac Brown when the heat was on him. I say part of the problem at the University of Texas, every coach come through in a rush. Well, we got to go someplace else. And 2 years later, the man won a national championship. Ask Kirk. I wrote him a letter. That was about 2003, 2004. I was coaching somewhere. So my thing is this. Nobody's patient. As coaches, you think we're patient? We're excited to sit here to be 1 and 2? Of course we aren't. As hard as these young men work, that's why I'm after our fans. If you were allowed to come to practice and see how hard these guys work, we have 101,000 cheering those guys on regardless of what happens, because those guys are working that hard. My hat is off to our young guys who go out there every single day when we have a day to work out, because it's tough. It's tough.
Let me ask you about Kansas.
My fault. We're talking about Kansas. All of a sudden, we're going a whole different direction.
Let's get back to wins.
Okay.
What has been the message to the guys this week? Because, I mean, look, they know what Kansas is. They know that many consider Kansas the worst team in the league.
From my understanding, 2 years ago, the University of Texas went to Kansas and had some issues.
Should have lost.
Last year, for 3 quarters, Kansas gave us the blues. So anytime you play any opponent, it's not about them. It's about yourself. It's about you going out and being the best that you can possibly be. When you start competing against yourself, now you're starting to take the right step. When you worry about Joe Blow across the street, you're not ready to go. You need to go out and work as hard as you possibly can and make sure you do your job to the best of your ability, and that your teammate does the best of their ability. Now you're starting to come together as a team. Now, winning takes care of itself.
Back on Sept, if you would. Charlie said the other day, despite the stats, he's okay with the way Sept is playing. Do you agree with that, or is there more you'd like to see him do, especially now that Tank is out?
Biggest thing with me, I think, the short time you've been around me and you heard me speak, I'm never satisfied with what they're doing. I think Malcolm Brown, Big Malcolm, could give us even more. Has he played well? Yeah. Could he play better? You're doggone right. He could play a lot better. Can Ced Reed play a lot better? Yes, he can. Can Quandre Diggs play a lot better? Yes, he can. The expectations when you're at a University of Texas is to be special. Right now, we're not there. We have a long way to go in every aspect of the things we do. And that comes with hard work. That comes with us getting closer together as a family. That's what a football team is. When Quandre Diggs and say, we had a meeting the other day, and someone asked him, tell me about Dalton Santos' family. Do you know he actually could tell you about Dalton Santos' family? So that means as a coaching staff, as a team at the University of Texas, that means we're getting closer together. And when your team becomes closer, the wins will take care of themselves. And those are the details sometimes coaches don't want to talk about. Why? Because people care less about that. But that's what the successful teams out there do when they start having success. They become closer together. They become families.
Was there some storytelling position group, guys kind of standing up talking about what they've been through, what their family life has been like? Is that how the Santos thing came up?
They've been together for a while, so they know each other. But really in each one of the position rooms, going back to two-a-day camp, a lot of the coaches have people, some of the players get up and talk about who they are, where they came from. Some of the coaches did that too. I wish I had a story to tell. I don't. But it's interesting to hear where some of these young men have come from. Some of them have come from great families. Some of them come from just a mom in the home or some type of dysfunctional family. What they hear. To get here, it makes them successful. Because it's hard to get to the University of Texas. It's hard to get a scholarship somewhere where it's paid for. being here on this football team, or even whether you at Sam Houston or Lamar or Stephen F. Austin, that individual is successful. Why? Because you're getting your education paid for. And that's what it's all about. It's about getting yourself educated so you're able to go out there one day, have a family, make a living for yourself, and represent your mom, your dad, your grandma, your granddad. That's who you're representing, your family name.
Are you seeing in the secondary, Duke Thomas, are there young guys coming, pushing for more playing time, or anywhere on the defense where in this bye week you've seen a guy make a move up?
Well, we've been playing Jason Hall a little bit, each game, and he played quite a bit, against UCLA. Did he make mistakes? Yes, he did. But what I saw is a physical presence. And that's what we're looking for, guys that could bring physicality to the game. Jermaine Roberts is a young corner. I mean, he shows flashes in practice. That's what we're looking for. So we have some guys, some young guys in the secondary, that might pop up. You asked about Derek Roberson. He's a young man that, he came in here probably at 215 pounds. He's up to 235, he told me the other day. He's getting bigger, stronger, and faster. We have some young defensive linemen because of injuries to Tank that right now you might see them pop up in this game. And the biggest thing is this, and I learned from a guy, Lloyd Carr, University of Michigan, from Bosen Beckler. When you're at the University of Texas, for each position, and this is what we used to say there, the expectation is for the position. The expectation for the position. There's been a guy who was All-American at that position who wore your number maybe in 1935. So it's not about you. You're representing a person who wore that number, a player who has worn that uniform. That's what the expectation is. And I love our fans, but for the alumni who played here at the University of Texas, that's where the expectation lies. And that's what these young guys today have to understand. Today it's about, look at me, let me get on Twitter right now and tell you what's going on. All that's great. But where's the substance? That's what it's all about. The substance of life. The development for us to teach these guys to be able to go out there when you leave here to do the right thing. We want our guys all the time. Don't be careful what you put on Twitter. Because for you out there right now, and you have a job, you're on Twitter and Facebook, if you put something negative on there, you will be calling your office. That does not represent this company. And we try to teach our young people the same thing. Don't put your life on there. I don't care that you just went to Whataburger, really. I don't care if you don't like pickles on your hamburger. I really don't care. I like pickles on my hamburger. Do you care? No, I'm not putting that on Twitter or Facebook. That's my own personal business. What time you get up this morning? I get up at 6 o'clock. Who cares? That's just me. That's a whole different story in itself.
Coach, you faced Taysom Hills, reminds you of Tim Tebow. Hundley was Cam Newton. You got a Heisman comparison for Montel Kozar, Kansas?
Well, everybody wants to go to my Heisman comparison. Now, this young man reminds me of Hurd, who's on our team right now. He's athletic. I bet you he runs 4.5. He is quick. He has escapability. We need to contain him. If he gets out on perimeter and starts running around, he could present a problem to us. And he's been contained, for the first few ball games, but they do a great job of trying to protect him. And we got to find a way to take that protection off. So our philosophy here, if it's a quarterback, we can get to him and hit him, we're going to do our very best to accommodate that quarterback.
I hesitate to bring this up, Vance, but didn't you tweet about going to barbecue places before?
I can't do that anymore. Just to let you know, I had going back, I had an email, our compliance say I cannot do that because that means I put my stamp of approval on it. Thank you. I can't do that. So therefore, I went to a great barbecue place the other day, and I can't tell you about it. It was absolutely outstanding. I plan to go back there when I have some free time, which I don't get too often. I enjoyed it. The brisket was outstanding. It was very tender. The sauce, absolutely beautiful.
Vance, looking back at UCLA in the second half, why were they able to run, I guess it was 6.3 a carry in the second half?
6.3 a carry comes off of what? One big play.
Right.
The one big play was 60 yards. So after that, your stats are shot. If you take away that one play, it won't be 6 points. Somebody be somewhere around 2.4. And we missed Tank. I'm going to be honest with you. I mean, I sit back here and I can make up all kind of stuff. You miss a guy like Tank in the middle, so all of a sudden you have Hassan, who really been playing 3 technique, playing nose, and it's a different look. But right now, if you run at Hassan Ridgeway right now, I wouldn't run at Hassan Ridgeway. One of these days, Hassan is going to actually get mad. He is one of the nicest young people I've ever been around. If he ever gets mad, I'm going to be the first one to leave the room because he will hurt somebody. My man could be a beast. I think he has the ability to be a special talent. He's gotten better every single week. He's a guy that's growing, developing. He's learning how to play the football game. And I think his future could be bright. Again, I'm talking about potential, not reality.
Is that one of the things that you're kind of waiting for from this entire defense, for everyone to just get mad?
You know what? That's just me. I mean, I was always angry as a football player. A lot of guys I played with, they were angry at here. That's part of it. When you're on defense, just think about it. You can't walk outside right now and slap somebody, can you? But on the football field, oh my goodness, I can have all the fun I want. If I was mad at my mama that day, I could take out on that person because I couldn't say nothing to my mama because, back then it was a different era in the 60s. Now, I didn't get timeouts. I didn't get no timeouts. So I got the old-fashioned hand of persuasion. And thank you from my mom, dad, and grandmother, even in school. But at the end of the day, you can do some things on the football field you can't do. So it was okay. We all were mad as a defense here at the University of Texas. You had that ball, we wanted it back for offense, so it was personal. And to me, when you play defense, it needs to be that way. It needs to be personal. You need to be angry that they have that football. It's like somebody came in your house and took something. So what are you going to do? I'm going to get it back and bring it back home. And back home is getting the ball back for offense. And we haven't done a good job with it the last 2 ball games. And we've talked about that as a defense, as coaches, and as a defensive team.
One time for 2 last ones, guys. I'm curious about some of the talks internally. Charlie never has, well, at least everyone knows what's going on offensively, but he never really says much about them, like, hey, offense needs to pick it up or whatever. He always talks about the defense. Well, the defense let us down, or the defense did this, that, or the other. And I'm curious, is that how y'all are going at this? Is that defense has got to win games because the offense is so hobbled?
Every place I've been, it's been that way. Yeah. In the NFL, it was that way. At Michigan, was that way. At Louisville, was that way. Championships are won with defense. You don't win it by yourself. When you look at Super Bowls over the last 30 years, what wins? Look at the teams that won a national championship in college over the last 10 years, what wins? The people who can play defense. Offense win a lot of games. Don't get me wrong. I'm not throwing eggs at anybody. If you want to win a national championship or a Super Bowl, you need to be able to play defense. You need to be able to get off the field. You need to be able to get takeaways, put your offense in a scoring position, and let them go do their part. And my father was a defensive coordinator, for years, and he was my coach. I mean, that was an experience in itself. But he always said this: as a defense, if you on the sideline, you can't screw it up. That's my dad, defensive coach. In other words, get off the football field.
But in this league, you could play some games where y'all play very good defense and still give up 28, 30, 35 points. That
means we're giving up 20, we need to score 29 in some form or fashion. That means if you got to score on defense, if you got to block a punt, that's what it's all about. The name of the game is to have one more point than they do at the end of the game. If you do that, you've done a good job. I got a buddy of mine right now. He's with the Chicago Bears. And, 20 years ago, say whole opponent is 17 points or less, you win. He said in the NFL, that's changed in the National Football League right now. He said right now, if you hold somebody around 24 points, you might have a chance to win. So the game has changed. And defensive coaches need to make those adjustments. You're going to give up some yardage. That's just the nature of the game. And playing video football, the way you spread you from sideline to sideline, there's a lot of one-on-one tackles. I mean, as stiff and as bad as an athlete as I was all my entire life, if you spread me out and let a guy go one-on-one 50%, I think I can win that battle 50% of the time, which means that's a big play or touchdown. And that's where the game has gone to. It spreads you out and it make a lot of one-on-one tackles, and offenses are that good. They really are.
Last one.
The progress, Vance, can you talk about the progress you saw in, the UCLA game and even in practice on offense and on defense, where you think the most progress has been made?
I think after the BYU game, as a team, we sat down and we talked and said, this is what we have to do. We all have to grow up, offense, defense, and special teams. You know, defense, you go out and you went on third down, we need to get takeaways. Offense, let's run the ball, shorten the game for the defense. Special teams, let's get the ball punted, let's get the ball kicked off, let's put them backed up, see can our defense go out and keep them backed up so the offense can not get a shorter field. So those are things we talked about. It's a team effort. It really is. Special teams need to do their part. Offense need to do their part, and defense need to do their part. You know, it's a third, and a third equals a whole. That's what it all comes down to. And we can get that done as a team. You know, good things can happen for us. And that's what it's all about. It's about team unity. And that's one thing Coach Strong has stressed since he's been here. And every place he's been as a coordinator, as head coach, it's about the team. You know, and if you understand that, then good things can happen for you. Because we don't have superstars around here. I mean, you're going to work hard, you're all going to be treated the same. Whether you're a walk-on or whether you the next whatever. You know, they know they come around me, I talk to them all the same. I like them all the same, and I get mad at them all the same. And so they understand that.